action.
All right, so when we talk about posture and alignment, everybody has that perfect image, of a golfer at a dress. Good alignment, spine straight, got a little bend here, center of gravity is looking real good. All right, and so then here's, an actual spine. When we're rotating through the golf swing, like here, coming to impact, still rotating, we got to think of what segments in the spine, are capable of rotation. So everybody always talks about the thoracic spine, so let's just take a visual look of how it helps us rotate. So you can see right here, there's these little joints in between. They're really good for rotation. Like you can really see them. Well, plastic model's getting caught up. But you can see how those joints right there like to go side to side, okay? Side to side. See how easily that just rotates? All right, then we get to the lumbar spine, and those joints are shaped differently. So what a lot of players try to do, or when they're trying to rotate, they get their low back hurt, and that's because these joints right here, look at that. They're not meant to rotate. They're supposed to stabilize, through your core. They're supposed to stay straight. They're really good at bending, all right? So when we bend forward and backward, you can really see how these joints come apart. But then when you try to rotate, look, there's no rotation there. Let's ignore this one that's displaced. If that's happened to you, you've probably been in a car wreck and you might be paralyzed. But see, those joints don't rotate. So that's a lot of what we look at when we're doing assessments, is just seeing which part of your body is not truly moving, and if you're trying to force too much rotation from this lumbar spine. All right, so now let's go into a deeper dive of what muscles are responsible for their actions of the body, whether it's your thoracic spine with rotation or it's your pelvic or your lumbar. So let's just start with, when we're going through the backswing, what muscles are responsible for, the rotation of that. We need strong muscles everywhere that, do their job, but, so the oblique abdominals and the lats, okay, right here. All right, so those, when we're going on the downswing, they're really going to contract, and that's what's going to help rotate through. So you got to think of when you're pulling your arm back, okay, the latissimus dorsi, the lats, everybody calls it, it's really good at bringing your body closer to your, your arms closer to your body, okay, really for that pulling motion. So you got to think when you're pulling, that muscle's contracting, and the whole other side's doing opposite actions. So that's what's really helps rotate that. So the contraction of this here and your lats through there, you can see all through there, the little lat and your abs. So when those obliques and those lats contract together, that's going to be responsible for rotation of your upper body. Now when we're at the backswing or we're going through, let's take a back view right here. Your glutes, all through here, your buttocks. So they're really responsible for rotating the hip externally, all right? So transitioning one side to the other, and then you have your glute medius, glute minimus that are going to be responsible right here for stabilization, keeping that pelvis nice and square in its zone and not letting it fall out of place. And your abdominal muscles through here really help stabilize your lumbar spine from rotating, so that way, we're not getting a blown out disc, we're not getting a facet injury, which would be those joints that I showed you that really don't rotate that well. They're really better at going this way, okay? So we just got to keep those groups of muscles in mind when we're trying to build up, strength and speed, because if any one of those muscles in the chain, there's obviously so many more muscles that go into the contraction, but if we can just focus on keeping strong lats, strong glutes, and obviously your abdominals, so that way you're not losing your posture, and we can really start focusing on speed, strength, getting the ball further out there, or most of all, when everything's working as it should be, we don't have any limitations, we can play golf pain-free. And we don't have to worry about, when we get to hole 15 or 16 that, oh no, all of a sudden can't swing because my back's in spasm. But, when we're on a regular exercise routine that, focuses on strengthening those muscles, making sure our joints are mobile. It can be kind of complex, but that's why we do an assessment, and that's why we just really focus on whatever your body is telling us, so we can have that body swing connection that gets you playing better golf.